Leaking top insider stock trades every day until they stop us, September 4th. Insider buying has still been a little slow, so let's start with the sales. The senior executive vice president at M&T Bank Corp sold nearly $700,000 of the stock in an unscheduled sale. This decreased her listed holdings by 25%, and the only other time she sold the stock was back at the end of 2024 when the stock fell from $213 to just over $150. The chief medical officer at Collegium Pharmaceuticals just sold $671,000 of the stock in an unscheduled sale. This was his largest sale ever and decreased his listed holdings by 20%. His last two sales were in March of 2024 and September of 2024, and the stock went up about 10 to 15% in the next couple of weeks after those sales before it then fell 15% and 30% respectively. The stock is also up 30% in the last 3 months, so he's selling the rip. I said in the video last weekend that it's very hard to time the top of very popular stocks that have high momentum because momentum tends to continue. So stocks going up tend to continue going up, especially when they're super popular. But here I'm going to try to do it again with Affirm Holdings. Affirm Holdings is up over 30% in the last 3 months, and the CEO Max Levchin just turned on a 10b5-1 plan for the first time ever and has already sold over $50 million of the stock in the last couple of weeks. The chief accounting officer also just turned on a 10b5-1 plan, and the only other time she had turned on a 10b5-1 plan before was at the end of 2021, and the stock fell 90% after that. Obviously, 10b5-1 plans mean these are planned sales, and they're probably going to continue to sell here for the foreseeable future, so they might have started selling a little early, but they're definitely saying that the stock seems pretty expensive to them and they're willing to sell stock at these prices. Now for a couple of buys, you'll remember that we've mentioned Residio Technologies a few times because the 10% owner CD&R Channel Holdings was buying the stock over the last couple of weeks, and they're up about 10% on those purchases. But now we have a new director that just came in and bought over $1 million of the stock as well. They have a very good track record on their previous purchases. They bought the stock back in 2019 and 2020, and the stock was up over 100% in the following year on both those purchases. And then they bought again at the beginning of this year and are up over 60% on those purchases. However, the only thing dampening these purchases are that all their previous purchases were after the stock had dipped, but this time the stock's actually on a very strong run recently, so they are buying into strong momentum here, which they've never done before, but they have very good previous returns on their previous purchases, so let's see if that plays out again. We also have a turnaround play with insiders buying the dip at Coty Inc. after the stock is down over 50% in the last year and just got crushed on their recent earnings. The chief legal officer just bought the stock for the first time and joins the CEO, CFO, and chief people officer who all bought the stock on this dip as well. The stock has been pretty beaten up, obviously, and had terrible earnings, but the insiders could be indicating that they believe things are finally starting to turn around, as these are the first purchases since 2023.